gentlemen, back again, the Zoomers. Absolutely thrilled to welcome from the Sunday Mirror, John Richardson and Charlie McCann in Gibraltar. Charlie's a broken man this week because he's moved. He's had to move house. Charles, what's it been like?
There's moving house and then Liverpool winning the league after 30 years. I'd move house every day. No, seriously, we haven't moved yet, but we're doing an instalment, so I'm still in the up. But this time next week, God willing, we'll be in the new property. But congratulations, I have to say, to Liverpool, worthy champions. And it'd be fascinating from somebody like myself, from a betting perspective next year. I think Liverpool have got to be favourites to retain the title. I can't have Manchester City as favourites, not with, what I would see as inadequacies in defence, and you can't say that about Liverpool. They've got an outstanding goalkeeper. Yes, City have, but they have back four, and I thought it was Roy the Rovers who came on and played right back for Liverpool in the last 10 minutes. How can you have a young kid come on at right back, run the game, nearly score two? That's what these. They are blessed with. What happens now with Alexander Arnold? Do they try and push him further up the field because his beautiful range of passing? But they're worthy winners. Congratulations, Liverpool, and that's to come.
It's Nico Williams you're talking about. We'll talk about Rico. One of the things I was going to ask you was, if Manchester City had Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez, who'd win, Liverpool or Manchester City?
Well, I think the biggest mistake Manchester City have made was not replacing Vincent Kompany. So that's come back to haunt them. Virgil van Dijk was wanted by Pep Guardiola, when he was available at Southampton. Southampton were going to sell for big money, of course. And surprise, surprise, the board stopped him buying him. So I don't think Pep's ever forgotten that. And I think that's come back to haunt them. I agree with Charlie. I think Manchester City, well, they looked in disarray last night, which you can hardly ever say that about them. Defensively, they were inept. Chelsea could have got more goals. I thought that was a poor Manchester City performance. I agree. I think Liverpool will go from strength to strength. I do think they have to recruit. You can't leave it as it is. I think they'll have to bring in one or two players because that's what you do when you win a league. Manchester United always did it. You keep on buying. And I think that scares the opposition as well. It will scare Manchester City. I think Pep Guardiola's got a bit of a job on his hands, and I wouldn't bank on them finishing second. Having said that, of course, they could win the Champions League in August, so all that would be forgotten. But I think there's a job on, for the first time since arriving there. I think he's got a hell of a job on.
Let's just dwell, Rico, on Liverpool. I know you've seen a lot of them this season. You've seen a lot of them down the years. I think if there's one key element to it, and I know they've got wonderful players, it's surely got to be the boss, hasn't it? His interview last night. Yeah, the boss. Obviously, there's only one boss, but he's not a bad second boss, is he, Jurgen Klopp?
No, fantastic. I knew a little bit about him at Borussia Dortmund. Well, everybody did. he was charismatic, and he is what he is. When you meet him, you just want to be with him. You'd love, after press conferences, I wish I was a footballer. You want to go out and play for him. He's got that X factor. And I think he's brought everybody together. The recruitment has been excellent. I think Liverpool's recruitment has been the best in the Premier League. It's been consistent. It's been good. But he is the catalyst. He is the person that it's all around. And, I was rereading about when he came and, they had to persuade him to come, etc., etc. Well, job's done, and what a fantastic job, and a fantastic manager. He deserves to be up there with the pantheon of Anfield greats. He's still got more to do, obviously, but I think the likes of Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Kenny Dalglish, well, we know Kenny loves him. I think they'll all be looking down on him and saying, yeah, you're one of us.
Charlie, looking ahead, you talked about Manchester City, you talk about will Liverpool dominate. One of the things I wanted to chat to both of you this week is, are we seeing a resurgent Manchester United. I mean, I might be the only person in the world, but I think Spurs have got a heck of a team. Chelsea as well have bought. Will we see a much more competitive Premier League even from a betting point of view next season?
No, not particularly. I think Manchester City and Liverpool first, Manchester City and Manchester United. I can't get how you get carried away with Spurs beating one of the worst Premier League sides you've ever seen in your life, West Ham, midweek. Yes, they got a draw at home to United, but they scored a good goal, and then they sat back a la Jose Mourinho. Remember, and fair dues, that's the way he sets his sides up. But no, of course we haven't. Chelsea are a good team. They're a good young team, but they're not in the same class as those two. And I think, I actually think it will be a gang of three, if not this year, next year, especially if you get Sancho. But let's get it right. He's better than this Dan James. Did you see Dan James against Spurs Jeez, I thought, oh my God, it looked like old Mother Riley with one of the crankies on the wing. It's fair to say I wasn't particularly.
I'm being a bit unfair to Dan James there.
Say what you mean, Charlie.
I couldn't be bothered how young he is, how quick he is. People will soon you've got to have an end product. And sorry, not for me, but I like this nucleus of a Manchester United side, yeah. But Liverpool first, Liverpool all the way for me. And next season, when you think what they've done in the last 2 seasons, and they're going to win the league. Let's get it right. They're not going to win it by, 7 games to go. An absolute record. They are. We're dwelling on Manchester City. Manchester City, their inadequacies have been all season. It's 20 points. It's 20 points in counting. It could be 20 plus at the Emirates on the Etihad rather on Thursday. Looking forward to that, by the way. And these FA Cup games. Can I just say one little thing about how strange it is that we're talking about Virgil van Dijk there? A few years ago, and there is a few years ago, I was talking to Neil Lennon at Blackpool at the Darts, the World Match Play. And he was up for the Everton job. He didn't get it. I can't remember whether it was after Martinez or maybe after Moyes and Martinez got it. And I spoke to Lenny, and he was at Celtic at the time. And he really wanted to come to Everton. And I asked him, what would you do? And he said, the first thing I would do, and it sounds daft now, but let's remember, Van Dijk went to Southampton. He said, the first thing I would do when I went through the door at Everton is say, buy Virgil van Dijk. Yeah. And it's a strange thing. There we are now. And of course you say, how could he go he went to Southampton, we forget that. And, football is full of strange sorts of foibles and things like that. And if, one door opens, but he is the rock of Liverpool Football Club, and it's the rock of a great, great football club and great football team.
Rico, it's amazing, isn't it, when you think, I mean, it's almost like Pep doesn't want to buy Larry Lloyd and David Needham, isn't it? It also, I think, in Arsene Wenger in his last sort of years at Arsenal, you kept looking at that back four that had Tony Adams and Steve Bold, and you think, why don't you just buy 2 lumps of centre halves who can just defend, because the rest of you can play?
Yeah. Well, there's all this snobbery about playing out from the back. At times you've got to thump it into row Z, and Manchester City won't do that. Ederson last night got caught out, didn't he? Later on in the second half, trying to play the ball out. Yeah, it's all very good, but sometimes you do need a hard man, somebody, a no-nonsense man. Virgil van Dijk can do both. He's superb on the ball, but he also gets stuck in and he'll clear his lines. I think City have got to bring in somebody of that stature, to solidify that defence, because at the moment it's easy pickings for the opposition.
In your view, who will be the best of the rest next season, looking ahead?
I think Manchester United are going to be up there. I've been very impressed with the job Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been doing. I agree with Charlie. I think Daniel James isn't Manchester United standard. I saw a bit of him for Swansea, in the Championship. And yeah, he looked a decent player then, because he relies on pace. He's got hell of a pace, but sometimes you've got to take the ball with you. And I'm afraid when you get closed down, as you do in the Premier League, that pace isn't as effective. You've got to have more than that. You've got to have the skill of a Traore at Wolves. or San Maximin at Newcastle. You know, you need more than that. But having said that, Rashford is obviously doing well. And last night there was a first. I don't know if you noticed, but the other night, sorry, Anthony Martial smiled. Never seen it. Absolutely incredible. You know, I mean, how he just sulks from games normally. But Martial, the other night, I was very impressed with him. He seemed to be enjoying his football. Scored the hat-trick, of course. I'm not going to mention him. You know, there's a midfielder there that we mentioned last week. He with his first start. I refuse to name him. Plays alongside Bruno Fernandes. That's the clue. I think Man United look decent, and obviously they're going to buy again in the summer. Chelsea, I think, have bought well already. With Ziyech, you know, from Ajax and Werner. So that's going to improve the side. There's talk of Ben Chilwell going there, which I think he will end up there during the summer. That will be a good buy. So I think you've got to include Chelsea in the mix. One side you won't include is Arsenal. I think they're going from bad to worse. I mean, we gave them a stick last week, but you know, they need some decent defenders. You know, they need 4 decent defenders and maybe even a goalkeeper. A lot of work to be done there, so I can't see them. Leicester, decent, but I don't think they'll be up in the top 4, top 5 next season. So I think for me, I agree with Charlie. I think it'll still be Liverpool and City that the mainstayers, but I'd include Man United and Chelsea. We'll be pushing.
Okay. Let's just quickly run through the FA Cup weekend. Norwich against Man United, Rico, a winner in that one.
Well, we talked about Norwich last week. You know, they're good on the eye. Well, they were good on the eye. I think since the start, they're not even good on the eye. They're looking very poor. So I can only see a Man United win there, Rob.
Charlie?
No question. United comfortable. I back United to win the cup. They're still 13-2, 6.5 to 1. I think that's a fair price. I think Manchester City, I think, are vulnerable at St James's Park. Anyway, even if let's say they get to the final or semi-final and play each other, United have beaten City 3 times out of 4 so far this season. The prices are wrong. The prices are wrong given what we've said about Manchester City as well, and given already that also maybe that the Champions League will be Man City's number 1 priority now. But United comfortable win at Carrow Road. Goodness, if Everton can win there, United can.
I have to laugh. A lot of people have spoken to me this week, Charlie, and said he was right. Sheffield United, they've not fallen off a cliff, but they've not pulled up any trees, have they, since the restart?
No, well, and they're playing an Arsenal side, of course, who similarly, okay, you know, if somebody's going to gift you a goal like Nketiah was gifted yesterday, I thought that was a poor game, the Arsenal game. I'm not getting carried away with that. I think Sheffield United will come out fighting. I really mean that. I think there'll be no place for faint hearts at Bramall Lane on Sunday. I think the Blades manager will be embarrassed about what's happened, what he's seen so far. No goals, 3-0, 3-0, and 0-0 against Villa. 3 shots on target in those 3 games since lockdown. Okay, one was sort of VAR and was a goal, but I think this is going all the way. This may well go. This is got a draw written all over it. 0-0, 1-1, extra time, and then even maybe penalties.
Rico?
Yeah, Charlie summed up Sheffield United perfectly for me. It looks like they've been on lads weekend in Benidorm. You know, I mean, they look terrible. And Chris Wilder, as Charlie said, is embarrassed. And you can't see them having another inept display like that. So I think all guns blazing against a poor Arsenal side. I think Sheffield United will squeeze it.
Leicester, Chelsea, Rico, who for you?
Oh, that's hard to predict. That all depends which team turns up on the day. I think they're very evenly matched. I think Leicester will squeeze it.
Charlie?
Chelsea have won 2-1 the 2 games since lockdown. I think it wouldn't surprise me if it was a hat-trick of 2-1s. Chelsea's win, both teams to score. Will Leicester's priority be finishing in the Champions League spot, and therefore will they field at least as weak a team? I think they've got Everton and Goodison on midweek. You know, this is a big period for Leicester City. They're not actually covered themselves in glory so far. That 0-0 with Brighton midweek was they were outplayed for the first 45 minutes. Chelsea to win and both teams to score for me.
Okay, and Charlie, the final tie, Newcastle and Man City for you?
And double chance, Newcastle to either win in 90 minutes or get a draw and take it to extra time, and then maybe penalties. Remember, no replays, but there is extra time. I think I know I'd love the game to be in front of 50-odd thousand Newcastle supporters. Newcastle are 12 points above the relegation. Forget that. This is, you know, you can imagine the owners, they want to get into the last four of the cup. Massive game for Newcastle. And I don't think they'll lose. They may lose on penalties. They may lose in extra time. I think 4-1 for them to get a win or a draw in 90 minutes is too big for, I think, what we're a talented, amazingly talented Manchester City side. But they're 20 points behind Liverpool.
Rico, one of the things I just wanted us to touch on, and it's, I mean, I'm delighted because I really like Steve Bruce. Have we underestimated? Do we still continue to underestimate the job Steve Bruce has done there?
Well, a lot of people are, including some of the fans, but I think they're coming round now, you know, because he's got a better record. This time last season, Newcastle got more points, you know, than under Rafa Benitez. And also, they're in the quarter-final of the FA Cup, but they've never been past the fourth round in 13 years until now. Hell of a job. I mean, we all know Brucey well. He's a great bloke. He's got a fantastic CV. He's won the FA Cup 3 times as a player with Manchester United. He's desperate to do well in the FA Cup. He's the only manager under Mike Ashley who said to Ashley, look, I want to take this competition seriously. I'm playing my strongest team. Before that, Ashley would browbeat all the managers to make sure they played weakened sides because the emphasis was staying in the Premier League. Well, Premier League, hopefully it's safe again for another season. And to be fair to Steve Bruce, it's been a bumpy ride. You know, there's been some hard games against Rochdale and Oxford and, you know, things like that. But they've got there. And when the draw was made, I really fancied Newcastle in front of 52,000 at St James's Park. This is different. On paper, you've got to say Manchester City, but you just hope that with City's leaking defence, Newcastle got a chance. But if I was a betting man, you know, I'd have to go for City, although my heart says Newcastle, obviously.
Okay, I know you mentioned the word VAR, or the phrase VAR, and everybody sort of goes, oh no. But it's beginning to really annoy me. And it's annoyed me all season. But the West Ham Spurs game, where there's, does anybody know what handball? No. I mean, they say going forward, if it touches your arm, it's a foul. And in the build up to the first Spurs goal, clearly touches his arm, and they say, oh, you know, they say no, and I'm totally confused. I just don't know where we are with it.
I'm with you, Rob. I don't. I mean, it's ridiculous rule. I mean, that was purely accidental. I still think the officials should have the last word, whether it's deliberate or accidental. But, you know, VAR for me is there and it's got to be used properly. It's just the people in front of the screens that need certifying. I mean, some of the decisions you can't believe. You can't believe. You know, I mean, how long did it take to decide that Fernandes had handled, you know, last night?
Yeah.
In the Chelsea game. I mean, we saw, well, to be honest, I think I saw it first or at least second time, but they were pouring over it for about 5 minutes. You think, well, what are you looking at? You watching EastEnders or something? I mean, it's ridiculous. So I'm in favour of VAR, but they've got to you know, improve their act in front of the camera.
You see, the one thing I thought originally, and I thought we have to have this, was the pulling and the wrestling in the penalty area with defenders, grabbing hold of attackers. Do you know what? It's the one thing they never give a decision for. Van Dijk the other night, I mean, he exists countless of it, but he's wrestled. It's an absolute stick-on penalty. If VAR, well, that's a penalty. But it bizarrely, Charlie, is the one thing they don't talk about.
It is. You thought that the days of people just grappling and not playing, not even looking at the ball. How can that be football? How can that, if there's a corner, you think the ball's on its way, but I'm not bothered about it because I'm actually tackling you. I mean, that's, and I think we all thought, but early on in the season, I thought it was consistent that if the ball touched somebody's hand, sorry guys.
Yeah. Why not now?
Why has that suddenly changed? I also thought, it didn't make any difference whatsoever, but Gary Cahill punched, it was on like Prince Charming, Prince, he's had him in the hand. You can't do that. That's not natural. Carrot made a career out of it, of course, making himself, but he can't do it now. But Gary Cahill's like that. No, play on. It's 2-0, 3-0 or whatever it was. Nah, it doesn't matter. Go on.
Drives me mad. It really, honestly. Listen, Rico, you're down at Stoke at the weekend, but your focus will be on the Middlesbrough.
Sorry, Stoke Middlesbrough. Sorry, Rob, I interrupted you.
Sorry, I'm just saying you're down at Stoke, but your focus will be on the new Middlesbrough manager, won't it?
Oh, young Neil, yeah, young Neil is back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's funny whenever I see him, although there'll be a Zoom call, won't it? Because we can't go right next to them. He always says to me, he says your hair's greyer than mine. I like you, Neil, but he's, we have a bit of banter, and it's just great to see him back. And I think it's needed. I think Middlesbrough were dropping like a stone. Sorry for Jonathan Woodgate. Hopefully his time will come again. But I think it was a brave decision, and I think it's a good decision for Middlesbrough.
Listen, lads, I just want to say thanks for joining us again. The boss is there behind Rico's hair, the tousled look. He pointed out to me, my wife had the dog clippers on me this week. Yeah, it's not the Georgie best, I think we can safely say, but we can't have everything.
Turn round. Like at the back, look at that, hey.
She thinks it's great. She's going to finish it. But once we finish this, she's going to finish it.
Will she come down here?
Is open here. Hairdresser's open here. It's hopefully that's the future for yourselves as well.
Coach Charlie for the time being. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a lovely weekend, John.
Cheers, Charlie. All the best,
mate.
Bye.